How have your Master League battles been going so far while we wait for people to
Master
join?
League.
Oh no, Ultra League, Ultra League. I'm already thinking about the next
I
meta.
haven't even touched Master League. Yeah.
How about Ultra League?
Um, I've been going budget. I've been going budget for Ultra League almost exclusively because I don't want to spend a whole lot of Stardust. But I've been running Gyarados with Swampert and Snorlax there as kind of alternative save switches. It's
Okay,
been okay. It's been okay.
I think it's a solid team. Gyarados is, especially now with Dragon Breath, definitely a big upgrade. How about you, Jay?
Me for Ultra League. It's been going good. I like Crobat so far.
Yeah, no, I saw the video. It's quite interesting. It's a very interesting Pokemon, and as you saw, like I think in your video, someone tried to mud shot you down, and then you just took them out. They're
Yeah, now that you have that Articuno video, though, I think I'm going to run into Articunos left and right. So I don't think I'm going to run the Crobat anymore. I think I have to retire it for a few days.
Yeah, well, I messaged Matt saying that the PV Poke Sims were incorrect because it's very misleading. Because in by default it shows them doing Ancient Power, by default, but they really should have straight Icy win, and then you like beat Swampert, you beat Alolan Muck, you beat Snorlax, you beat Giratina the 2 shield, like you beat a lot of things in the lead.
It's crazy. I never even noticed that.
Yeah, it's been great. How about you, Choose?
I'm at like 3,000 dust because I impulse second move to Mew like the last day of Great League, which was a mistake. So I've been running like Water Gun Swampert and stuff. It's ugly until I get a grind in. Today was supposed to be my grind, and I came back to come do this. So
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, water gun. Okay, yeah, interesting.
it's not pretty. It's not good. Don't think about it.
Yeah, this meta's been pretty interesting. Um, yeah, I think this stream will be really good at like breaking down the meta. It's a simple and complex meta. I would say, like, I think there's a very safe core that you've been running that you can run, but the core has a lot of potential holes and a lot of potential threats that can deal a lot of damage. So I wouldn't say like in Great League the meta is very mature. So like it's not too often that you get surprised by. I'm not sure there was any like huge surprise picks in Great League. I guess the low and Raichu, but that's mostly because of new moves. But outside of that, it was pretty mature. This one, I think, like every day, we're discovering like new picks and new Pokemon that can be viable in Ultra League. So,
Well, not just that. I feel like the fact that not like almost no one is prepped with Mons yet means there's like this weird staggered point where even if we know what's good, a lot of people don't have what's good yet. So you have to play against what people have, which isn't like it's a weird game that's like slowing down the consolidation of the meta.
yeah, for sure. Well, I have run into quite a few Registeels, but I thought Registeel would be on everyone's team. But because of the nature of Registeel, you have to max it out. It's a legendary. How many people caught a lot of Registeels and have a lot of candy, and then you have to double move it or else it has almost no coverage.
Yeah. Actually, I thought I would see a lot more Registeel too than I have been. I think I've seen 2 or 3 total, maybe, and definitely the last one I got matched up against, it did not seem like he was double moved because he just went straight flash cannon into Snorlax. So yeah, I think it's probably too expensive for some people.
Yeah, so it's certainly hopefully by the time the season comes out, it'll be a totally different perspective. So, but anyways, looks like some people are joining. I'm just gonna tweet out the stream. Let me just do that quickly.
Oh, are we Twitch or YouTube, by the way? So I can pull up the chat.
Twitch, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. Yeah, man. Let me just pull this. Okay, all right, AJ, you wanna lead things off?
Sure. I'll just give a little introduction on everybody. You all know King. I'm the guy on the right, the other guy, AJ for some. Um, I do some shoutcasting on Ghost Stadium primarily, and then I mess around with budget stuff in Ultra League. Definitely Great League has been my more of my bread and butter. But anyway, we have Jay Devon in the house. Say hi, Jay.
Hey, how's it going? What up?
Jay has
Battlers!
been a Jay's been a huge propagandist for Crobat, I think, and he's infamous now for rage quitting against Pope Dave just a few minutes ago, so he wouldn't get beamed by a dazzling what was it? A hyper beam Blissey?
No.
You were about to get beamed by? Yeah.
Oh man, Blissey with the meme. It's a somewhat viable option. Somewhat.
It is kind of viable, as Pope Dave demonstrated just a few minutes ago. Choose to Masters also in the house. Say hi, Choose. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Choose, for those of you who weren't following in Sil Season 1, was one of the finalists, or at least quarterfinalists, in the Chicago Sylph Worlds, which is no small feat. Very active in the PvP community. And we also have I think, newcomer as far as streams go, but Andrew, aka Nesabathan. Say hi, how you doing? So Andrew made this really, really cool graphic, and I reached out to him because I really wanted him to, get his voice out there and explain how he came about it, what motivated him to make it before Go Battle League was a thing. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Andrew, and how did you come around to Ultra League, and that being your interest?
So I was always interested in all of the leagues, even when, just because it's like a thing you want to think about as you plan your resources. So I was always one of the more active participants in Go Stadium and the Ultra League and the Master League channels. And then when Lock On came out and we were discussing Registeel, because obviously it's kind of a high rank Pokemon on TV Poke. And we were also noticing that it kind of beats all the common Giratina counters with straight focus burst. It beats Snorlax, it beats Steelix, it beats Laparis. With Flash Cannon, it beats Muck. Obviously, it beats the Charmers because of its steel damage and steel typing. So that realization it was a nice, neat way of consolidating the meta into two halves, and so that was basically the inspiration for the graphic. These two really powerful Pokemon that mostly cover each other against the meta.
Right. So it's a near perfect core. Obviously, we'll talk about the things that it has trouble with specifically, but that's kind of where you started, right? What are we seeing on screen right now?
Yeah,
we're seeing the
League of Registeel and Giratina.
Yeah. So that is like basically what it has been, although the wrinkle here is most people are using Giratina, but not that many people are using Registeel because it's so expensive. You got to max it. It's a candy from a Pokemon that wasn't super popular when it first came out in raids. We were talking a little bit about that. And then it's just expensive, right? You got to bring it to level 40, and ideally you buddy it up and bring it up to over the CP cap or close to that 1500 range or 2500 range. So, King, if you could just zoom out a little bit so we could see the whole thing.
Yep.
Just for a
Yep,
minute.
no problem. So this is the overall graphic.
You can kind of see how he split it apart.
Yeah, so it's split apart into the League of Registeel and Giratina. Or Andrew, why don't you walk through it? Tell us about the different parts.
So in the version that I put on Go Stadium, it's vertical. So the whole graphic's split down the middle into color columns, with the Registeel and Giratina box at the top that you can see on the left there, and then the rest of the graphic is split into the Registeel counters on the left, the Giratina counters on the right, and then Here it's separated. So you've got the things that are slightly more inconsistent but threaten those Pokemon. You can see them here on the right hand side. You got again the Giratina Counters or threats on the right and the Registeel threats on the left.
All right, perfect. So definitely dividing the meta, and there's certainly flex picks that's able to at least handle their own against each of them with certain bait conditions and whatnot. So why don't you walk us through the three different Giratinas that you have here, and what are the considerations are when using each of them?
So we got we got Origin form, which is the problem that altered form often faces is its ghost moves are bad. Shadow Sneak's a terrible move, and so against things that are weak to ghost or resist dragon and rock, Origin has that advantage over altered form. So in this situation, Origin has a much better Registeel matchup than altered form. It beats it in 0 shields. It beats it in 2 shields if it goes straight Ominous Wind. And in 1 shield, it beats it with that Ominous Wind bait. And even if it goes straight Ominous Wind, the Registeel ends up with 3 HP left. And the Origin form has 4 Ominous Wind buff chances. So even in that situation, if it doesn't try to bait, it still has a pretty good chance of beating Registeel. Which Altered form can't claim so well. Altered form... It has no shield pressure on Registeel, even really when it's using Shadow Sneak. It loses 0 shields. Registeel's never going to shield it. And if Giratina shields, if the Dragonclaw Ancient Power Giratina shields twice against Registeel, so it concedes a 2 shield advantage, it still has barely any more health left at the end of that than if the Registeel itself also used 2 shields. So the Registeel can just take that 2 shield advantage off Giratina and leave it low health, able to be farmed by something else. With the altered form, the matchup is much worse than with the Origin form.
Yeah, and then are there any other matchup? I know Hero Vange pointed out that against the Shadow Claw variant of Altered, that Origin beats Altered in the one shield.
Yeah, it can do, yeah. It's worse against the Dragon Breath one, but it still can sometimes. It can still sometimes have that chance against the Shadow Claw variant. I think it's bait dependent in 1 shield and 2.
Yeah, it is bait dependent.
It's not a reliable win, but yeah, it can win. Yeah, it's not. Considering that Origin is the less bulky form and you expect it to be less suited in a CP cap league, it is. It can hold its own against altered form.
Yeah. Are there any other matchups besides the opposing Giratinas and Registeel that you would consider Origin over Altered?
It's much better against Steelix. I believe, I'd have to double check this one, but I believe it beats Steelix in 0 shield and it has bait dependent wins in some of the shield scenarios. It's better against Cresselia. Origin form basically beats Cresselia, whereas Cresselia beats altered form in some situations. Any psychic types Origin form's better at because it has that powerful ghost damage that altered form just can't provide.
Yeah, and I think when the meta actually matures, Origin will ultimately have more shield pressure than Altered. Because I think right now, like early on, people are so used to like the Great League and shielding much more, but then you'll soon realize, like even with a squishy Pokemon, Altered just doesn't put that much pressure, even if the charge moves are coming out that frequently, versus Origin has that potential of a Shadow Ball, and you definitely don't want to get Shadow Balled, and it feels terrible when you shield an Ominous Wind because it's like half the damage, literally half the damage of a Shadow Ball. So I think
it has a play style a little bit like Haunter in Great League, but obviously with different typing, more bulk, and a buff chance as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think as early meta, I think I personally favor. Why don't you tell us what are some of the considerations for running Altered over Origin then?
So Altered is much more versatile than Origin. Origin, I mean, you could give it Dragon Pulse, but that sort of takes away from what Origin does. Origin with those single moves, it's much more easily trapped. If you get an Origin against a Snorlax, you're in major trouble. Whereas Altered Form, it can do a lot of damage to Snorlax, and Dragon Breath Altered Form can even flip that matchup. Dragon Breath Altered Form in Shields can sometimes beat Snorlax. It has a lower chance of Snorlax's Outrage, but Dragon Breath versus Snorlax is not that bad a matchup. Whereas Origin, you're just trapped. You've basically thrown the game at that point.
Okay, so then what are the Snorlax is a consideration for Dragon Breath. Are there any other matchups that are considerations for Dragon Breath? Because I think right now a lot of people are running Shadow Claw because they like the high energy generation. But what are some other matchups that people should be looking for or considering when they're forming their team when going for Dragon Breath besides the Mirror and Snorlax and any other normal type?
Muck as well. Anything that resists Ghost, Dragon Breath is generally better against. One really interesting thing about Dragon Breath is it's not actually worse against Registeel than Shadow Claw. Although it's resisted, and you'd expect, because it's 4 damage per turn versus 3 damage per turn on the Shadow Claw, you'd expect the resistance to lower its damage per turn below Shadow Claws. This is actually not the case in the Registeel matchup. The rounding of the fast move damage means that Dragon Breath still does 4 damage per 4 damage over the same amount of time as Shadow Claw does 3 damage.
Yeah, which is
which is obviously bizarre. But also because Altered Form's charge moves don't do much to register damage, is actually quite nice in that matchup. Dragon Breath Giratina is about as good against Registeel as Shadow Claw Giratina.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it's like draws like parallels to like Altaria versus Registeel in Great League, where that Dragon Breath pressure adds up over time because of nature of it being a one-turn move. Definitely allows it to have that much of an advantage over a 2-turn move like Shadow Claw. Okay, and then obviously a Shadow Claw variant, much more flexible, able to get to Ancient Power as a coverage move against Togekiss, for example, and some other Pokemon, and more chances to go for the boost and potentially flip matchups.
Yeah, it is. Shadow Claw is more versatile than Dragon Breath and Altered.
So, are there any? What would be an example of a team composition? If you have an answer, you can think about this as well. A team composition where you would run Dragon Breath over Shadow Claw. So what? And you don't have to answer this question right now. You can ponder and think about it because I think it's a. I think there's some.
I'd say if your other 2 Pokemon are a little bit, they're not very strong against Giratina, then that might favor the Dragon Breath variant.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. So if you want to win that mirror match, then the Dragon Breath variant would be a strong consideration.
Maybe have Steelix drop in too, or a Steel type, right? Because I mean, just thinking about it, if you end up in a rough spot against a Togekiss, you're definitely not going to want the Dragon Breath at that point. So, it depends on how you run your Steelix. I ran into a couple Thunderfang Steelixes, so there's a lot of interesting things you could do.
Yeah, the Thunderfang variant would be interesting. We can talk about that. Okay, great. AJ,
I think also just the Dragon Breath in general pairs better once the Registeel Gira core starts becoming much more prevalent, just because the things that do wall the Dragon Breath variant are going to struggle much more against the Registeel. Like, you still have the Focus Blast for the normals and stuff, but facing a Charmer, for example, is much easier with Registeel than something that could be packing Earthquake like Snorlax.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be really nice is if we could count on having a super powered Dragonite pretty soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, whoever voted.
Better.
God.
Even better, you get Rock Wrecker on a Pokemon that nobody ever uses.
It could be good. We'll see. Maybe it'll be really good. It'll overcome even resisted damage or whatnot. Okay, great. I think this is like these 4 Pokemon and types considerations are very strong, but they're not necessarily without their weaknesses. So should we move on to the counters?
Sure. Let's go on to the. We could start with left panel, left to right. The Registeel Counters. You see a lot of fire in there for sure. Some fighting. Personally, I've seen an uptick in Charizard. Seen a lot of people, a lot of buzz around Charizard just because it's got that favorable matchup against Registeel, and then Blastburn hurts. The problem, of course, is that it's a bit of a shield hog. Even at its higher bulk in Ultra League, it still really relies on those shields, and it's almost like, do you really want to expend shields on something like Charizard? So I'm interested to see what you guys think about.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Charizard versus Typhlosion, because I think pretty different play and considerations. So what do you guys think? So obviously Charizard preferred pretty early on, but I also think like Typhlosion can be interesting.
So I felt like when I run Typhlosion, I really just want to open with him, right? Because you're going to have the Shadow Claw, Blastburn, Solar Beam, pretty much by default, I think, is what everybody's going to end up running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I want to have, potentially a clutch Solar Beam, or to just have the Blastburn pressure. So I haven't even liked Typhlosion at all so far. I think the couple of times I have run it in Ultra League for Go Battle, I took a very quick L because people have been leading with Swampert left and right. So I definitely think Charizard might be a better pick.
Okay. All right. I think, yeah, obviously their fast moves are pretty dramatically different. Like Fire Spin, or we can talk about other variants as well later, versus Shadow Claw. Shadow Claw is at least going to be able to put fast move pressure onto Giratina. How much fast move pressure? Well, depends on how long you want to stay in that matchup, and it might add up over time. But Giratina also knows that it doesn't have to shield that much against it, and it does have to. Typhlosion does have to fear the ancient power coming through to deal super effective damage.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing too, right? The Charizard would take 256% damage from an ancient power, and the Typhlosion, what is it, 160? So I don't know the single type.
160. It's 1.6.
It takes single super effective, whereas the Charizard would be double.
Okay. And are there any? Is anyone aware of like differences in matchups between these two?
Typhlosion picks up the psychic types. So Typhlosion's fairly reliable against Cresselia. Charizard is not. Typhlosion has a better Armored Mewtwo matchup by quite a long way. I don't think it's an Armored Mewtwo counter, but it's much better than the Charizard matchup.
Yeah, obviously the Rock Slide would basically one shot Charizard versus only deal single, right? And then obviously those Shadow Claws are going to do a decent amount to Armored Mewtwo. I think those are good considerations. Obviously Charizard's flying typing helps it a little bit against fighters, but a lot of these fighters have some like decent coverage moves.
Registeel's big though. Being able to resist both moves does help there for Charizard.
Typhlosion
takes quite a lot from Focus Blast.
Yeah.
Typhlosion can at least tank ancient power a little bit better than Charizard can from Giratina.
Yeah.
No matchup at all.
Yeah, someone's pointing out that Typhlosion there's nothing in the meta that it can really farm down, where Charizard has some clear targets and some clear opportunities, which is true. Having the stab damage and then be able to like farm down specific Pokemon like some grass types and be able to resist a lot of their moves is pretty critical.
One of the major distinctions too is I feel like just having the fire. So if you run a fire spin on the Charizard in Ultra League, I haven't seen much fire at all. I ran into a Charizard a couple times. It did give me a little bit of trouble. I was able to overcome it, but I've seen a couple times. I've even seen double steel lineups. Right? I've seen people bring a Registeel and a Steelix, and if I had a fire spin, fire blast Charizard at that point, that would be massive against that, because I feel like people sometimes might try and overcomp a little bit for the Togekiss and the Giratina. They're like, well, if people are bringing those two, then I'm just going to go double steel. And Charizard kind of has that role where it can hit the dragons is super effective. It'll resist the charmers. It's kind of similar to Crobat, except it can actually hit the steals is super effective. So
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Okay. Why don't we talk about the fighters? So there's quite a few fighters in pseudo fighter, I guess. Are there any particular fighter that you think the meta currently favors?
Heracross.
Personally, I think Poliwrath.
Poliwrath.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I'd agree
interesting.
with that. I think.
It is the most popular one at the moment.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
why do you think Poliwrath is popular right now?
It's that
It has
coverage
that close,
of
that
Ice
close
Punch.
Giratina matchup, yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Ice Punch on Giratina, it certainly helps against the odd flyers. But Dynamic Punch also hits pretty hard, and it's got really fast charge with Mudshot, right? And so all of that combined, it ends up being a pretty interesting choice. And it's not as frail as, say, like Lucario is, for example, which isn't even on this particular graphic. I think
Lucario loses to Registeel and Zero Shields, so it's not
Yeah.
even strictly a Registeel counter.
I don't think it's as good as people are saying it is. I think Lucario is definitely on the overhype. I think it was a good call not putting it on here. In fact,
Yeah, it loses to the other fighters. It's not reliable against Registeel. It loses to Swampert.
yeah,
It's the only thing it has going for it is that Shadow Ball on Giratina, but Giratina can tank a Shadow Ball and still win the matchup. So
Yep. I
Yeah.
used to love Lucario a lot, and now
if
exactly.
you
Yeah.
can
I just
get,
don't.
I will say this for Lucario, if you can get a positive matchup, up it down, and then have a boosted or double boosted Shadow Ball potential, that is really nice. But outside of that,
Yeah, that feels like chasing one of those perfect scenarios rather than playing the like favored matchups across the
Yeah.
board.
and you can play around it, because what's funny about that is that they could come in expecting a Shadow Ball, just to spam a Shadow Ball, and you could come in with something that loses, like a Snorlax, tank the Shadow Ball, and switch out to whatever, right? So that you could just play around tanking the Shadow Ball with one of your tankier Pokemon.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a consideration there. But interesting enough, like Poliwrath also has some issues with some of the other fighters as well. That counter damage does do quite a bit to it, and then as well, like Poliwrath does have to it does have to finish off a Snorlax with a charge move. Like it can't farm down a Snorlax like perhaps like Heracross can, or Machamp, or Hariyama, or any of the other counter users.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see if, as we realize, like we were talking about before the stream started a little bit, that shields are almost less of a premium in Ultra than they were in Great, because they're just more moves that you can tank. And so we might start seeing more people trying to move towards fast move damage and not going so hard on the shield pressure that isn't quite as valuable here. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think as the meta evolves. So as the meta evolves, what other fighters do you think will come into prominence, if any?
Probably Hariyama, honestly,
Ooh,
because it has the if they come in with the Giratina, it has coverage, a little bit of coverage opportunities. Right now, I've tried on a superpower. I don't recommend it. I haven't liked it so far. If anything, I would go counter. What else does he get? Maybe close combat.
Close
Probably
combat.
counter, deep punch, and then heavy slam. Right? He gets access to heavy slam.
Yeah, it's like heavy slam.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, he can, if not one shot, he can deal massive damage to fairies, right? Like Togekiss. If I bring my Alolan Ninetales, I'm not going to like that. And he's still going to have something that can at least hit neutral to the Giratinas, because they don't resist the steel. So
Yeah. Heavy slam definitely wouldn't one shot fairies in Ultra League, but it will certainly put pressure onto them. So it's not like they'll have to think about whether or not they want to farm down a Hariyama at the risk of getting hit by another heavy slam.
yeah, definitely not. It takes that opportunity away for sure.
Any other fighters you think are interesting?
Toxicroak is pretty interesting because it's the only fighter that can actually beat the Charmers. It beats them in 0 shields, and it has that bait-dependent Mud Bomb, Sludge Bomb win in 1 shields against both Togekiss and Clayble.
Yeah,
and it also has good matchups against the other fighters because of that fighting resistance. It beats all the ones that don't resist. I think Gallade loses to Registeel. I don't think maybe with a low kick, but you're running low kick Gallade.
Yeah. I don't think Gallade. Gallade has some interesting matchups against the other fighters, but it only soft checks Registeel at best.
Not as a fighter, right? Because you'd be running. It's almost like a pseudo grass that has a hard-hitting fighting stab move, right? Because a lot of the grasses have trouble versus Registeel, but it can still close combat it, right? And then those leaf blades come out pretty quickly, which helps against Swampert. It's more like that weird anti-meta pick. Certainly, it would welcome Toxicroak being meta.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Heracross, interestingly, on the Swampert matchup, Heracross actually beats Swampert. Its close combat's so good, and it has that mudshot resistance that it wins that matchup. You don't need a grass fighter to beat Swampert.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely one of the favorable considerations for Heracross in a Poliwrath. They have better matchups against Swampert, which is good.
It's hard to run something that's weak to Charm and Ghost. Those are just both so prevalent on so many lines that your Gallade is going to get scared of something on their team every single time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then we also have a pseudo fighter because of the dynamic punch, and that's actually one of the interesting ones when I was doing my own investigation and analysis of Ultra League, that Armored Mewtwo beats Registeel with that dynamic punch damage. Part of it is because of Armored Mewtwo's tremendous bulk. Certainly one of the tankiest Pokemon, but that dynamic punch does quite a bit. And here's a question: would you prefer? I think you definitely need the dynamic punch, but do you prefer Rock Slide or Side Strike?
I'm Team Side Strike on that one. Rock Slide's nice, but Side Strike Armored Mewtwo beats Altered in 0 shields.
Oh yeah. Because of Side Strike is a crazy move. It's Avalanche clone, 45 energy, 90 damage, which
It's stab as well, but Rock Slide doesn't. So it's a resisted Side Strike isn't that much worse than a Rock Slide on Armored Mewtwo.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close for sure.
I'd say definitely Side Strike too. I mean, there's other things you can comp with to have the rock coverage potentially. If you have an altered sit next to it, that could be kind of a flaky strategy, but I think Side Strike 100% should be preferred. I mean, what are you going to, not cover with the Side Strike that you don't already have coverage on? I mean, so you're going to be able to hit the steals for super effective with the D punch and then Side Strike basically.
Yeah, I think flyers are like the Charizard. Probably being I'm not sure what the matchup is like with Charizard, but I imagine it's a little closer when it's a Side Strike variant as opposed to Rock Slide variant. And then
Rock Slide variant does a bit better against Cresselia, but it's still not a great matchup for Armored Mewtwo anyway. And the resisted Side Strike isn't that much worse in that matchup than the neutral Rock Slide.
Yeah, for sure. So not a ton of changes. So, but I think and actually one of my friends asked me Side Strike versus Rock Slide. I'm like, there's just not that many flyers in Ultra League, unlike Great League where there's a lot of flyers. There's just not a lot in Side Strike. Being such a great move and having stab is really hard to pass up on. So I think definitely when we see Side Strike come out, I think we'll see it. Maybe not in this preseason because I think people still have to get the candy and the dust and all that stuff. But as the meta evolves, I think you'll start seeing more armored Mewtwo. I personally haven't run into a single armored Mewtwo so far. I think it's kind of mostly because of the nature of the Pokemon, and I don't think that many people realize that how good it was going to be, and that we were going to play Ultra League at all. So I think that certainly changed the dynamic of it. And then
I don't even have one. I'd never caught any during that time.
Okay, I like playing Ultra League, so I was actually trading. I probably traded like 20 or 30 of them, and I still haven't got a good one that I would like. I knew it was going to be really good in Ultra, but I was just going to run it for fun. I didn't actually think there'd be necessarily a competitive scene with it. Okay, and the second last one I want to talk about on this side is Swampert. So
Yeah, Swampert, I think, is hands down the best Pokemon within this category easily, but it's easily top 5 within the meta. I really enjoyed playing with it. Hydro Cannon and Earthquake is amazing coverage. It's a budget pick. It's only 10k to unlock, and I think you don't have to fully max it either, which is always a nice thing, a nice change of pace for this particular league. I mean, it's a great safe switch against a lot of teams, unless they're running some kind of crazy grass pick like Venusaur, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Venusaur's been really popular, which is not great for Swampert, but even against Venusaur, a neutral stab Earthquake is unreal how hard it hits. So I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think certainly Swampert is definitely the best, arguably one of the best non-legendary Pokemon in the meta.
Among the Registeel Counters, it has one of the best Giratina matchups as well. It beats Giratina in Zero Shields, Altered Form in Zero Shields because of CMP on that Earthquake, and it has that bait dependent win in One Shield as well.
Yeah. It has to have Giratina shield the Hydro Cannon, and then obviously
Yes.
then double Earthquake. But it's certainly a way out as opposed to these other ones. Okay, and the last one I want to talk about on this side of the category is Jellison. Okay, why would Jellison be such a good Registeel counter?
So resist both its moves. That's pretty much the advantage. Like with Charizard, its stats aren't that bad. It maxes out a bit under 2,500, but it's still kind of bulky. It has that Shadow Ball that you can use on Giratina. It's a losing matchup against Giratina, but it's not that bad a matchup. And Jellison's matchups against all the other Registeel counters are really good.
Is there any matchups it loses? Like outright?
I'm not sure. Not among those ones listed there. I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think so. And then what are you gonna run? Bubble or Hex?
Probably Bubble. I mean, Hex. I think it does a bit more damage to Giratina, but Bubble is just a better move. Hex isn't a great move.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. Yeah, I don't see anything that would necessarily beat. Yeah, I think it'll be a really interesting. Obviously, one that you'll have to max out. I think it's a 50k double move. But I think it's going to be a really solid pick, and definitely one that you'll want to consider lucky trading. And because of the Shadow Ball threat, like you can definitely play some mind games with Giratina. And then what moveset would you run? Would you run Bubble Beam, Ice Beam? I kind of like the Bubble Beam, to be honest, because if you threaten the Shadow Ball and then you Bubble Beam them, I think that's on the way out. That's a good parting gift to Giratina.
So if you run Bubble Beam, you kind of lose out. I mean, it's nice to run Bubble Beam when you get it shielded, but if it goes unshielded, it's kind of a waste, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not quite as it was. Now you can switch out that debuff.
Right.
Well, so the one nice thing that's like anything that has a nuke and a debuffer, if you haven't revealed your moveset yet, like people hate shielding Bubble Beams. So like you can definitely, even without that move, play off that and try and like it just makes Jellison a better baiter and a better nuke lander to have that full range in the moveset. I don't know if it's actually worth it to have Bubble Beam on your Jellison though.
I'm sure we, as once it comes out, we can definitely run the sims. I think its other moveset is Ice Beam, which I'm sure is helpful against like Togekiss and the grass types and whatnot.
Yeah, in the end, I feel like everybody's going to end up wanting to go Ice Beam. I mean, Swampert's already so prevalent, right? Once we get the Jelly Belly Bubble Beam meme in play for the Ultra League, I think you might start seeing a lot more grass. So I love the Bubble Beam meme, but probably Ice Beam.
I assume Shadow Ball is like mandatory, right? Like you can't beat Giratina with just the Ice Beam.
I don't think you would beat. Maybe you could beat Giratina with the Energy Lead, but I don't know. I actually haven't run that sim before, but just because it would be taking super effective damage from the Shadow Claws, and then as well does it max out to 2,500, so it's missing out a little bit of bulk. Yeah. So
if I had to just guess, I'd say Jellison would be more of a fringe pick. The combined fact of having to be a level 40, it's got that sort of Bubble Beam possibility, but it's also shares ghost typing with Giratina, which a lot of people are using as their way to counter Giratina, right? You're seeing a lot of fringe dark picks and like Shiftry. You're seeing, coverage with Snorlax, that Lick and normal typing. So personally, I don't think Jellison is going to make the kind of waves it's going to make in Great League for this particular league. We'll see.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it certainly doesn't have as great a coverage, but I think it's still. I think it'll be very interesting. I think for players that are going to be really invested into it, I think it's definitely one that you should have on your team. And you can actually beat Registeel. I guess it's not as close. You can beat Registeel without Shadow Ball. You can just straight Bubble Beam it. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of an annoying matchup. It takes
That sounds awful.
Takes 6 Bubble Beams to beat in the one shield.
But surely you switch. By the 4th Bubble Beam, you're like, screw this. I'm gonna switch to something else.
Yeah. You definitely do.
I mean, but then you just Bubble Beam the swap in and then swap to your counter. Like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then the Registeel still has to worry. Once you get Bubble Beam on the next one, it's very unlikely you're going to lose that next switch in, unless you have no counters for it and they're terrible matchups. So, I think it's I would say don't sleep on Bubble Beam, Ice Beam.
Also, no Shadow Ball, huh? Interesting.
No Shadow Ball. It just as a consideration. I think you have to think. I'm just putting mind games into my opponents right now. On the movesets, you have to guess the moveset. But I think it'll for those that are very serious about Ultra League. I think it's a consideration. The fact that it beats the rest of the Registeel counters, like the best of the counters, and it's not that inflexible against the rest of the meta. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the Giratina counters. Anyone have a? Let's start from the bottom because I think the softer counters are better against Origin. Sorry, I should say. Snorlax.
My favorite by far is Snorlax.
Yeah.
The one that's always given me the most trouble that I've been matched up against is Muck. All the other ones have been kind of, overcomable with at least with the way I play.
I mean, I think, okay, I guess of the bottom half, yeah, those two are definitely the big two that are countering the ghost part harder. I've seen some other fringe dark, nothing that's been scary, like he's saying, yeah.
Yeah, there's the Umbreon, but Umbreon's advantages over Muck are fairly. It's not weak to ground, but it's weak to fighting, and it doesn't. Last Resort's a worse coverage move than anything Muck has. Yeah, I didn't see enough justification for Umbreon to actually put it on the graphic.
I think Alolan Muck is. I think both Alolan Muck and Snorlax are amazing, but Alolan Muck, if they're too slow in the switch in, the amount of energy it can generate and the matchups it can flip. I think it's like 3. If it gets off 3 Snarls before a Swampert switches in, it actually flips that matchup.
It flips Registeel 2 Snarls.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've definitely flipped a lot of Registeel matchups just from like the pure amount of pressure. And as well, people making mistakes trying to farm down with lock on. Basically, which is always a total mistake. Like if you're thinking about farming down with lock on against a high energy generation Pokemon, like you might want to rethink that. But I think like Alolan Muck is a really great swap in, and so is Snorlax. They're both like great Pokemon with good bulk and solid moves, and do really well against Giratina. How about Shiftry? What's the advantage? I guess a clear Swampert matchup, especially since most Swampers are not running Sludge Wave. Not saying they can't, but it would be a less common moveset.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add on and say Shiftry is pretty good in the current iteration of what's being very popular, right? Leaf Blade obviously hurts Swampert like really hard, and then being able to resist the Shadow Claws from. It's more common to see Shadow Claw right now on Giratina, and then that Stab Foul Play. It's really nice. I haven't used one myself just because I'm not maxing, a Shiftry right this minute, but it's certainly seeing a lot of play. I mean, my particular team is horrible against it, but it's been very interesting, I'd say.
And yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like with the grasses, it's one of those things where obviously, like we've talked about, Swampert is probably the best budget pick out there, so you're gonna see plenty. There is a use for grass, but so many of the other top meta things, just like either wall or at least check grass, if not hard counter it. And so if you can find a grass that fills another role for you also, like we were talking about Gallade before, or like Shiftry that can also counter the ghosts out there, that's where you start getting some more utility out of the grass that doesn't get as if you don't see a Swampert with a Venusaur, you're probably having a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So for Alolan Muck, I think the standard moveset is Snarl, Dark Pulse, and Sludge Wave. Any consideration for any other movesets?
Gunk Shot is, I'd say, equally viable to Sludge Wave. It's like a foul play Dark Pulse debate on Umbreon.
But what do you win with Gunk Shot over Sludge Wave?
Memes.
The Gunk Shot wins you 0 shields against Clefable. Sludge Wave isn't quite powerful enough to nuke the Charmers, so you have to chip them with Snarl damage, and Sludge Wave fails to do that against Clefable. Whereas Gunk Shot, it nukes both the Charmers in one go. So that makes that difference.
But do you lose the 0 shield without Sludge Wave?
No, so Gunk Shot beats Clefable in 0 shields, Sludge Wave loses.
Okay, yeah. Interesting.
Okay,
in the mirror as well, in 1 shields, a Gunk Shot Muck going straight Gunk Shot beats another Muck going either straight Dark Pulse or straight Sludge Wave.
Interesting.
But have you taken into account the humiliation effect of throwing a trash can at your opponent unshielded? Like,
so, no, some people think that's a plus point.
And then
what? Yeah, it is a plus for it. You throwing a trash can. That animation is the best animation that there is in this game.
It's pretty good. What are the considerations for Sludge Wave then over Gunk Shot?
Speed, just you miss out on that Gunk Shot. If you need to get that Gunk Shot on a Charmer and they kill you first, then obviously that speed you miss out on.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think from 0 you have to go Gunk Shot. The argument is when you're in those like half matchups where it's half of your Pokemon left against there's something in the back and you just need to get it a little faster.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely the foul play Dark Pulse argument, except for a little bit higher energy requirement. Okay, so someone asked me, because I told them, like, you need to run Snarl. Someone asked me, like, well, it does so much worse against fairies. How about Poison Jab?
Yeah. Poison Jab costs you Giratina. You can't. That's a poison jab.
And it's horrible against Registeel.
Yeah, for sure. I told them it's probably not viable, but just wanted to clear that up.
That's the whole reason it even makes the graphic, right? It's because it has Snarl. It gives it those matchups.
For sure. It definitely made a huge difference.
Hey, so one more thing for Gungshot, because it is something that PV Poke is recommending on its, and this is a more serious point, right? The DP is slightly higher, right? So if it lands, but also as we see the meta, people understand more how stats scale in Ultra League. People are more hesitant to burn shields on things, and so Gungshot's going to be that little extra. Whereas in Great League, Gungshot was entering in an overkill territory most of the time. So you just
I think that's very fair. It's a very fair comment. The stat scaling definitely makes the overkill not as prevalent. Yep, I think that's it. That's a really good point. Okay, great. Let's move up on the list. Laparis. So you recommend double ice Laparis, Ice Shard and Ice Beam. You need it for
the matchup without double ice.
What about Dragon Pulse? Can Dragon Pulse beat a Giratina?
It's too shaky. It makes several of the shield scenarios against ulted more unreliable.
Yeah, I think someone used an Ice Shard Dragon Pulse Lapras against me in a stream recently, and it definitely would have been better for them if they had Ice Beam.
Yeah, but it's a very close matchup with Giratina, if I recall.
What's the best third move? Still Surf for the cheaper?
Yeah, I'd assume so. I mean, maybe there'd be an argument for Skull Bash in some matchups, but Surf's pretty versatile. It gives you a neutral hit on Registeel as well, which is something.
Yeah, no, interesting. Interesting. The anyways, I'm just sometimes PvP Poke has like these weird sims. When I run it with Surf and Ice Beam, in the one shield it has 5 HP left, but when you straight Ice Beam, it has 42. And it must be the nature of like when the charge moves happen, 3 turns versus 2 turns. Not optimizing for that. So you recommend just straight Ice Beam against Giratina?
Yeah. I think maybe in 2 shields, if Giratina does some Dragon Claw baiting, then you might need to do some Surf baiting back, but straight Ice Beam is the safest play in general.
Yeah.
The only argument I would really have for Skull Bash is, I mean, since we have higher total stats in Ultra League, right? Because it's the guaranteed defense buff. If they don't really have like a direct answer, that buff is going to be much more considerable, right? Like I would not be anywhere near scared of the Ancient Power from a Giratina Altered, for example. And then it's like, it still feels borderline meme. I feel like I would, no, maybe? I might even do it and I'll try it to go Ice Shard, Ice Beam, Skull Bash.
You're gonna ice.
You have to get the buff off something else, because you're not gonna throw Skull Bash at a Giratina.
Oh no way.
Yeah. I think you need Ice Beam for sure. But it's a decent counter. Certainly not one of my favorites, but it definitely has some play in the meta. Okay.
It's quite good in the low Registeel, low fighting meta that we're seeing at the moment, because those Pokemon aren't that popular. Lapras has a decent Swampert matchup. It can beat Venusaur in 0 shields. It beats Togekiss, it beats Giratina. So in the current Go Battle League meta, the sort of incomplete meta that we're seeing at the moment, it has some pretty good matchups.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. Then let's move up on the list. Steelix. Dragon Tail.
So
What do you recommend as the charge moves? Go ahead, Jim.
I like Steelix a lot personally, even still in Ultra League. I feel like I way slept on it. I've always had one that's maxed out, but I definitely slept on it. It has lots of options too, is the thing I like. I still prefer Dragon Tail. The main thing I think would be considerable is the charge moves. Right now, I still just have the default Crunch, Earthquake on my Steelix. I really don't feel like I'd go Thunder Fang. I feel like that's too specific. If anything, I might eventually go Dragon Tail, Crunch, and then Heavy Slam potentially. Dropping the Earthquake definitely feels risky, especially if they bring a Registeel. But I would like having that flexibility of being able to actually do something more against the fairies while having, the Crunch potentially for a Giratina or an armored Mewtwo, for example. There's lots of things you can do with it, I guess, is my point. I like Steelix.
Heavy Slam does make it a fairy counter. It's reliable against Togekiss and Kavable with Heavy Slam.
Yeah, would you recommend the Crunch or the Earthquake with Heavy? I think Heavy Slam has been pretty popular early on. Or what do you recommend?
I think it still beats Giratina altered, just with Heavy Slam. I think it makes the matchup tighter, but straight Heavy Slam, it doesn't need Crunch to beat Giratina altered.
Does it need it for any other matchups? I'm assuming it still loses to Armored Mewtwo, or does it?
Yes. Yes, I'm pretty sure Armored Mewtwo beats it with straight and out punch. I'll have to double check that one.
Yeah, I'll double check that one right now. And then, so you recommend Heavy Slam Earthquake then?
I don't know. Crunch makes it a harder Giratina counter. Steelix struggles a lot against Origin form, and Heavy Slam just throws that matchup away. Crunch also helps against the Psychics. It's cheaper. It helps with debating. So there's a lot of trade-offs dropping Crunch for Heavy Slam.
Yeah. So you drop Crunch, you lose the 2-shield matchup. So, like, you would win the 2-shield matchup with Armored Mewtwo, and the 1-shield matchup is left with Armored Mewtwo at 2 HP. And this is a pretty decent Armored Mewtwo. Actually, is that right? Default 154. That seems a lot better than what most people would have.
So the one thing about giving up Crunch is when you're against a Giratina, even matchups you can win against it. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen, like, just on Valor Ash's stream the other day, how many times, if you don't kill it fast enough, they boost fish and they can get you on one. And, like, obviously you're not going to make your whole game plan around making sure that doesn't happen, but I do think there is some value to making sure that you can kill the boosters quickly and just eliminate their roll chances, because in Ultra there are that many more roll chances.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how spammy with Dragon Claw, with Shadow Claw, Giratina can be, and how bulky it is. It certainly getting a boost will completely flip the matchup. So interesting. Okay, here's an interesting little tidbit. If you buddy up Steelix, it beats Armored Mewtwo in the 1 shield.
If you're best buddies with it.
Yeah.
With Crunch.
with Crunch. Yeah, with Crunch. The dough with the Heavy Slam. Yeah, with the heavy.
I'm gonna ask a question that I'm gonna feel embarrassed of, but I'm just gonna ask it anyway. Is Armored Mewtwo a different typing?
No, it's the same typing. Psychic.
It's the same typing, so it doesn't pick up any like steel. So what about like straight, like if you land an Earthquake with Steelix, how good does that do?
No, it doesn't. Like you lose the matchup.
You just wanna land crunches, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a better DP. Yeah.
Armored Mewtwo's still really bulky too, and Steelix doesn't really have amazing attacks, so.
Yeah, Armored Mewtwo has more bulk, than Steelix. Not more bulk. Higher stat product. It has less bulk, but it's still very bulky. Something to consider. So
Is
I
there a variant to Thunderfang Crunch? Does that handle the Giratinas? No, right? It still falls a little short, I think.
without the.
Check the playing against Giratina, but I assume it loses.
Okay, let's see.
I'll resist the Thunderfang.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, Giratina beats it with in the one shield with 5 HP. But if you if you best buddy, it doesn't do anything. Okay, it's worth a shot. Yeah, it loses with 5 HP on not a crazy spread, but a decent spread on Giratina. And Thunderfang probably gives you like a slightly better Registeel matchup. No, not really.
Well, then you hit that earthquake slower with Thunderfang, so
Not really.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure about that.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing it really gives you is better against, like, you become an actual charm answer now. But that doesn't feel worth everything you have to give up when you get Thunderfang.
And Dragon Tail Heavy Slam does still beat them. It's not as heavily as the Thunderfang one, but it does still beat the Charmers.
Registeel's just a monster. It can survive this earthquake from Steelix. It's even with all those Thunderfangs. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, all right. Registeel.
There were a couple people asking about some picks that aren't shown on the specific
Okay. Yeah.
infographic, which I believe we're ready to move on from, right?
We still need to talk about the Charmers.
Charmers.
Which of the
Yeah.
Charmers do you prefer?
But there is another part to this graphic, which is kind of like spice pick / interesting.
Yeah, partial
So,
threats. Yeah.
We'll definitely open up discussion there.
Oh, we also didn't talk about
I gotta
Snorlax
say,
moveset,
Charmers.
which I think we should
Oh.
at least touch on.
Snorlax?
Yeah.
Just we didn't talk
So
about the
real
moveset
quick
when we
for me.
mentioned Snorlax.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's talk about the moveset and Snorlax quickly.
I run Lick
Body
Body
Slam,
Slam Superpower.
Earth
Convince me
Quake
that I'm
Remedy.
wrong.
No.
Body Slam Superpower, it loses 0 shields to Giratina. You've only got
Yeah.
super effective lick and then double resisted charge moves. Yeah. And if Giratina knows that's your moveset, they're not going to shield you. You've kind of thrown away the ultimate matchup with those two charge moves.
I'm not concerned about that though. I'll just time out with the Body Slam and then swap if I need to.
Ooh, okay. It looks like when his runs shot. I'm looking here. Snorlax beats it with just lick and body slam.
In 0 shields, I believe.
Yeah, in zero shields. Yeah.
And if Giratina knows the moveset, it's not going to take it into a shield scenario. It's going to just not shield.
Yeah. It's quite.
Then Snorlax only wins by conceding a shield advantage. It's kind of ugly if you're relying on Body Slam to beat Giratina.
It's true though. It's really painful. It's really painful.
It's okay. You can do it, Jay. I believe in you.
Also, that's all against Shadow Claw. That's not even taking into account Dragon Breath Giratina.
Okay, here's a consideration. Here's a consideration. A lot of people like to ancient power fish. If they straight ancient power, they lose in the 0 shield. Right? No, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen a lot of them.
Unless they buff, then they don't.
Yeah, then obviously if they buff, they win anyway. So, but that's just a consideration, right? Like, if they try to,
How many opportunities does it get?
So in the 0 shield, it gets 4 opportunities, which is kind of ridiculous. But
Yeah, so it wins, right?
No, I think 4 opportunities, you got about a 30-something% chance of at least one buff. So you probably won't get the buff, but you got a good chance. You could get more than one.
yeah, even if you buff on the last one, let's see. If you buff on the last one, you lose by 1 HP. So you have to buff on the previous ones, but obviously this
I
is
think
like...
in 3 ancient powers, you got about a 27% chance of at least one buff.
Okay, all right. Okay. So no body slam earthquake pretty clear, or are there any other ones that you would consider?
Outrage makes it a harder Giratina counter. I think it does a bit better against Dragon Breath with Outrage.
Would you ever consider outrage earthquake? You give up a lot of generalist matchups.
You do, yeah. Body Slam wins a lot of neutral matchups.
Yeah, Wiggly Spore puts a lot of pressure on. And Body Slam's a very good move plus stab.
Yeah,
But
I still just feel like I would never, like, no matter what, I'm not going to drop the body slam on the Snorlax. I mean, I kind of use him as a flex pick in that way, because if I end up in a rough spot, I can just use my Snorlax to deal with pretty much anything. Like, nothing really wants to take back-to-back body slams. Even in the Ultra League, they don't like it.
And the only things that don't like taking earthquakes.
Yep.
yeah. But JB real. You just don't want to go through the TM roulette of Snorlax to try to get earthquake. You like
I heard
you
you
like-
did. I went for superpower.
off of earthquake.
Superpower's slightly better against Registeel, but it's still I don't think it picks up a reliable win in any shield scenario. You can throw a couple of superpowers and switch, so then the Registeel's no longer such a reliable Snorlax counter later in the battle because you're refreshed again. But superpowers maybe slightly better in that matchup, but you're losing that neutral hit on Giratina, which is quite bad.
So if you go straight superpower, because I think that's like the main argument for superpower, is the mirror match, right? But if you go straight superpower, and they just shield the first superpower, body slam Snorlax wins because you're debuffed.
Well, are you charging up to a double up or so, or are you just launching as soon as it's available?
Okay,
I
let's
think
see what the
people like
double up.
default sims charge to double, but you don't even want to charge to double. You want to charge to 100 energy because then you're debuffing as late as possible.
It's pretty difficult to count to, but
It is doubling it up, but I don't know why it's
You
not
have
just
to
going-
sandbox superpower. You have to sandbox it so it throws it at 100 energy.
it should be 33 licks.
That's a lot of licks, dude. 30?
But yeah,
That's going
how
to be
many
easy
body
to
slams
count.
would you have taken by that point?
How many body slams?
3, I think.
Two. On their way to the third one.
Although the body slam player, if they know you've got superpower, they would also delay the body slams to try to get it after your superpowers.
I don't know,
Oh,
like
man,
that may.
we're gonna have some Snorlax.
Yeah.
matches.
No, I think in the first body slam they'll just spam towards it, right? Because they don't know that you're going for a superpower, right? And then by the time you go to the second one, like they still might think they still might be thinking you're self piggybacking.
I always try to hide that I have it. I mean,
sim-
because, it's a lot riskier in those situations. Like, even in the mirror, I'll always try and hide it. I'll go for at least one body slam first, and then I will overcharge for days, and then I'll see if I can get the double superpower. Then, by the time we get there, I work that switch clock, and we'll have options.
So I simmed out straight body slam spam versus 2 superpower back to back. And so the first superpower shielded, and then the second one isn't. Then he gets a third superpower, but the body slammer gets 4 body slams, and the body slammer wins. So it's not even that great in the mirror match. I'm sure you could just finagle with it somehow. Where
They bait you with a body slam.
yeah,
So it's bait dependent then.
it is
That
bait
shields
dependent.
down. Yeah.
But it's not, that's one of the clear arguments for superpowers, a better hard-hitting move against Snorlax. But it's not like you're in the mirror match in the lead and you're like, all right, we got this. It's superpower. It's more like, fingers crossed. I hope this works. Hope he doesn't pair up with
That
a
literally
Giratina
happened
later.
in a match with me last night. Fingers crossed. Like, please don't shield the superpower.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Someone in chat asking if Licky Licky with Body Slam is almost a clone of Snorlax. It is, but still has a worse stat product, right?
Slightly worse stat product. I think even when
And no outrage if you wanted it.
But Shadow Ball. There should be different movesets. It's very similar to Snorlax, but it would be worse than. It would be if you buddied it, which would be difficult to do, considering we haven't got a Body Slam Licky yet. But it would be if you buddy it, it'd be higher than the default Snorlax stat product wise, but lower than a rank 1 or a higher rank 1, high ranked Snorlax. It wins the mirror match simply because assuming knows like the same moveset because of its higher attack. Because there's no way you're gonna win based off of lick damage, which does 1 damage. They both have like really high HP. But I'm not sold that Body Slam on Licky in Open Ultra Blind 3 is the right moveset, considering Shadow Ball and Earthquake give you like really good coverage, but it would just make it like a slightly worse Snorlax again in the general meta, unless you ran Body Slam Shadow Ball, then that would be different. But hard to give up the Earthquake for Registeel. Okay, that's a good question though. Okay, let's talk about the fairy types. Any personal favorites? I think Togekiss has been the most popular.
Togekiss is probably more popular because of the cheapness.
Cheapest, yes. 10,000 as a baby. You don't need to max it out. You can basically take one from hatch, double move it, or trade in, double move it, and then power it up from there. It's not too much. I think it's also the most flexible because it does have that flamethrower, does have ancient power, right? So in negative matchups, it can potentially flip. Versus the other two have like pretty straightforward gameplay. Obviously, like Clefable has Psychic and could get a 10% chance of a 1-stage debuff, but it's certainly not the same. But I think Togekiss also comes with some challenges, especially against altered Giratina, because of the flying typing. Makes it weak to ancient power.
Yeah, you very often come out shield negative from that matchup. Because you might win with charm, but those ancient power, they rack up, and it's a shot. Like if it's a Shadow Claw, not even that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad when it's a Togekiss, and it's
in this meta. I mean, they obviously have a role. You should. Shield pressure, even more so. It makes them, for me, hard to justify.
Yeah, and it actually loses to Giratina if he tries to switch in on Giratina after 3 Shadow Claws in the 1 shield matchup. Which is not the same with Clefable. Actually, it's pretty close with Clefable too, but it's certainly not the same. So a little bit less hard of a altered form Shadow Claw Giratina counter, but does have some like nice charge moves, ancient power, flamethrower. Though flamethrower doesn't do that much to Registeel, at least does more damage than what Clefable and Wigglytuff can do. It also.
I don't really like the fairies too much, period, in Ultra League. Just personally, I mean, I feel like they're just they feel a little too risky, to be honest. I feel like it's too easy to take advantage of the fairies in the open blinds.
I think they're... Sorry.
Fable matchups against Registeel, because it's such a hard counter to Fable, because it resists all of its moves and has that super effective damage, and the Flash Cannon just falls short of KOing it, so Registeel against Clefable, you pretty much always come out with 100 energy. If Clefable tries to farm something else down and then reclaim that shield on a on another Pokemon, and then Registeel comes in, then it just wastes all its energy on Registeel, and Registeel normally comes out again with massive energy from that matchup.
Oh, for sure. So it depends on how you want to play it. I think Wigglytuff is the hardest Giratina Ultra Form counter, since it double because of its normal fairy typing does double resist both fast moves, and as well double resist the Shadow Sneak and Dragon Claw, and only takes neutral from Ancient Power. But again, you have to max it. Only goes to like 2,000 CP. It probably gives up some more generalist matchups. So certainly there's play for all three. Depends on what style of play that you want to have.
Yeah, Wigglytuff's it's a much more risky. It's like a go big or go home type Giratina counter.
Yeah, the hardest counter, but the least often that means.
Against Lapras. It had the hardest Lapras matchup, but it had bad matchups against the other grass types, against the other Razor Leaves and things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, I think the charmers are interesting, but certainly there's quite a few counters that you can have when it goes up against Giratina. Okay. Any other thoughts or considerations on this particular graphic?
Not really. I had something a minute ago, but I already forgot it at this point.
I'd say outside the Charmers, Muck's notable for its reliability against different types of Giratinas, because it beats Origin, it beats Shadow Claw Giratina, and it beats Dragon Breath Giratina, except for the two. So it's better against Dragon Breath than Snorlax. It's better against Origin than Steelix. It's not weak to Ancient Power like Lapras. So apart from the Charmers, which are especially played with Wigglytuff, which are pretty reliable, Muck is a pretty solid, versatile Giratina counter.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Okay, let's take a look at some of the partial counters, threats. You want to start with the Registeel side? Okay. Any personal? Okay, so let's walk through the one that really stands out here, Mew. So what movesets does Mew have to run in order to be a Registeel counter?
I haven't checked Mew for a while, but I think because it learns Focus Blast and Overheat, I believe it can win in some situations. I think it's better in a opposing Zero Shield situation. But I would have to run those sims again on
Yeah, look, Overheat it can win.
Overheat, if you have a bait to pair with it, though, I could be wrong.
Yeah, Psyshock bait. Let's see here. Yeah, you need the Psyshock bait to get it.
Although in Ultra, I'd probably run Dragon Claw as my bait if I had, a million TMs.
Or you can double Focus Blast and win the one shield. Dragon Claw makes sense as a moveset.
So in chat, there's a lot of Venusaur.
So Venusaur is not on this
Fanboy?
this graphic at all. Okay.
It's not.
What are your thoughts on Venusaur?
I mean, that's probably the most controversial omission from the graphic. I actually had it in my Ultra team before Lock-On came out, but Venusaur now, I think it's better in Go Battle League at the moment because the meta's still kind of incomplete because it beats Togekiss, it beats Swampert. But the thing is, if you have people actually using Giratina and Registeel as both of them as often as you could do, it's just walled by both of them. I've been running a Registeel Giratina team in Go Battle League, and every time I play a Venusaur team, I win because it's just so easily trapped against those two Pokemon.
Yeah.
It has no neutral damage on either.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Venusaur is good right now because Swampert is very good and it's very available, and then it does well against a lot of the common
Togekiss budget picks,
counters
right?
that people are using.
Yeah.
But it's not amazing once if everybody had access to everything that's really good here and certain spice picks. I think Venusaur would run into some really hard problems against the Ultra League meta.
I mean, I
So
think part of it though is with Master League on the horizon. Like I don't know if I expect to see a ton of Reggie and Gira teams when I'm playing. You know what I mean? Like there will be plenty that have both, but there are going to be a lot of people who are just accepting they're not making a Registeel for Ultra because they're saving up for Master,
Right.
or you know what I mean. So
Oh, I
Venusaur
agree.
does still have play for a while in this like gray area before we see how much people will buy in on the core meta.
I think Ultra League is made a lot less stagnant because people just don't have the don't want to or don't have the resources available to throw into it. Whereas Masters, it's a lot of people that raid will have some of the viable picks within Masters, so it's going to be a different story there.
My main argument for Venusaur right now, obviously, like I said earlier, I've seen Swampert leads like left and right. He can take advantage of that, but also a common comp I've seen is because people have not maxed out and double moved a Registeel. Like I ran into a single moved Registeel with Flash Cannon and it just didn't function. It didn't do the job that it's supposed to do because of that. So what I've seen people comp with is they will open Swampert and then they'll bring a double moved Giratina altered, and then they'll basically try and anchor with a Togekiss.
That's
so
definitely
if
the
you
most.
run into that. He can
yeah.
take advantage of it, but
Yes.
above and beyond that, just like dude, I'm so sorry, I'm spacing your name, Andrew. Just like Andrew said, when we see more people actually have, that Registeel Giratina core, it's not really worth it.
Yeah. When I'm up against a Venusaur team, I just generally accept I'm probably going to lose, even though my team is super weak to it. But it's just like, okay, good job. You brought the Venusaur, and I feel like a lot of people are the same way because they just have limited resources. They say this is the team that I'm going to use. Hopefully it works out, and if it doesn't work out sometimes, then that's okay too. But surely on the upper levels of gameplay, if you're bringing straight meta, like I know Mason on his stream last night, just using Giratina, Registeel, and Swampert, that's doing just fine against Venusaur, and that's straight meta. So
Yeah, for sure. That's probably the strongest, most played trio right now. But the most common trio that's very meta right now is definitely Swampert, Togekiss, and Giratina. It's totally a good point why Venusaur has been plays out so well because it does beat a lot of these partial threats, especially on the Registeel side. Okay. Let's talk about these other partial threats. I think this is a good point to bring up. Virizion. Why is Virizion on this list?
I mean, Virizzion's probably one of the slightly more dubious ones in there. It's got bulk, which is quite nice. It's a fairly bulky grass type. It has leaf blades, so obviously it's going to kill things like Swampert easily. And close combat, it gives it some slightly shaky matchups against Registeel. I haven't simmed it for a while, but I have a feeling it has a bait-dependent win in one shield if it can bluff a leaf blade. And it might be able to do okay in zero shields, but without the sims in front of me, I can't actually remember that one.
Okay, yeah, I'll look it up right now. I don't know if it has to be because it's so in the one shield it doesn't have to be bait dependent. You can just throw 3 close combats.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm seeing across the board it does okay with baits against Registeel. It's quick attack, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not running Zen Headbutt.
Yeah, I didn't even know what other move it had.
It's just
But
a terrible Gallade at that point.
It does lose the 2 shield without the bait though.
Yeah, that's.
But in the zero,
without baits, it loses. I mean, I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm seeing a loss in the one shield. What did you end up doing?
I just put straight close combat.
Yeah, I see a loss there.
Are you on Ultra League?
Oh, see that every single time. Every single time.
It was like
Every single time.
you check in Ultra League.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ultra League is a different story.
Yeah, so that's why the matchups are so. It is exactly at a flash cannon though, when you hit the close combat. So the second close combat. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a pretty.
I think I remember. I think when I simmed it before, it was before attack-based CMP had been implemented. So I think it was a CMP tie in that situation. Whereas now it's slightly more favourable to Virizion.
Yeah, because it clearly wins it. Yeah, because it is at 65 energy. I wonder if we can. No, okay, makes sense. Okay, yeah. So pretty just straight close combat. But if you're one lock on behind, then you might lose it. But even the flat, it's pretty decent, pretty good bulk to it. It
had a better fast move. It'd be a really powerful. It'd probably be the best grass type in Ultra.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the other in its move pool that's available in the moves from the main series Pokemon game, I think the best one is like Wing Attack, which is actually a clone of Quick Attack.
Double Kick hasn't been implemented, has it? So maybe a hypothetical
double
kick.
Double Kick. Oh man, I imagine that's like a weak charge move. At least that's what I would think it would be. But Double Kick is a
counter. It could be a new counter.
Yeah, or a flip of counter, right? Like 4 energy. I guess that would be Shadow Claw then. Kind of, yeah.
It'd be more damage than Shadow Claw.
Yeah, it'd be more. Yeah.
A Volt Switch fighting clone maybe for Double Kick.
Volt. Oh yeah. That would be pretty good.
I'm just waiting for the low kick buff. That thing is so overdue.
I think they've buffed fighters a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's
close.
Only counter. Like you can't run a fighter without counter.
But they've buffed close combat. They've had superpowers, so they've buffed fighters, just not with fast moves, right? So you know what I mean. So it's like a different buff. It doesn't always have to be a fast move buff, though they're nice. Like obviously the Volt Switch buff is pretty crazy. Okay, so Virizion really interesting, especially with Leaf Blade and close combat, two amazing charge moves in PvP and quick attacks. Okay, it's not absolute garbage like Zen Headbutt or Pound. But it's okay. It's like Wing Attack. No stab, one Wing Attack, right? Just doesn't deal super effective damage to anything. And resisted by a few things. Like Giratina and Registeel, right?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely kind of a ninja. I do like the options that Virizion provides, but
it gets
honestly,
walled.
Even if I had the dust and the candy to invest into it, I just don't feel like it would be worth it.
Yeah. Okay, the next Pokemon, House Stark actually was running on his team of 3, and he went 5-0, at least one time, with Blastoise.
Blastoise is solid. It beats Registeel in higher shields, but it loses in 0 shields. It beats Swampert in 2 shields, and I think it's bait dependent in 1 shields.
Yeah.
And then it loses in 2 shields. Yeah, and it has that Ice Beam. I mean, its Giratina matchup, even though it has Ice Beam, is worse than Swampert's. But landing an Ice Beam on Giratina is still nice.
I do like Blastoise a lot too, personally. I've used it quite a bit, and I feel like I do get more wins when I run the Blastoise. I feel like the main thing that holds Blastoise back, in my opinion, is not even really like the Giratina matchup. You can comp for that when you run it, but really the Blastoise versus the Swampert matchup is where it kind of falls short. But I do really love, I mean, number one, it's bulkiness. Obviously, you got to consider that you have to max it out, so it could be a big investment.
Mm-hmm.
But just, it's versatility overall, since it does have access to Ice Beam. You could potentially go Flash Cannon, but I mean, that's typically the way to run it, right? Is Water Gun, Hydro Cannon, and Ice Beam.
It has a better Charmer matchup than Swampert as well. I think Swampert loses to Togekiss in all the even shield scenarios, whereas Blastoise wins and it beats Clefable as well.
Yeah, because of the water gun pressure. Does beat. Okay, yeah.
Bite Blastoise beats Tina in the Zero Shield, and it also has a shock factor because you're running Bite.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, beats it in the Zero Shield.
I mean, the big problem there is like everything that's on the Giratina counter side of the graphic will beat a Bite Blastoise for the most part.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Pretty much anything will be a Bite Blastoise. Generally.
But I'm saying, if you come in with an armored Mewtwo and a Giratina, I'm going to open Bite Blastoise every single game.
Yeah, you're going to TM it in the battle. Somehow you're going to find out.
Yeah, no, that would be pretty interesting. Yeah, that Bite would be very shocking. You switch in, thinking that's your coverage, and you find out you're in a lot of trouble. But it's crazy how little these charge moves do. Like a Ice Beam from Blastoise only does only about 40% to a Giratina.
Yeah, Earthquake is a higher DPE move and it gets stab on Swampert, so the difference in the charge move there isn't that big. And obviously Mud Shot's a much more useful move against Giratina than Warskin is.
Yeah. It's interesting, for sure.
What about Ice Fang for Alligator, which actually it's like similar to running like a Bite? I know I've seen a little bit. I haven't checked the sims much, but I know I saw a couple people using it. So I don't know if you guys have looked into the.
So I actually used it. I did like an all starter team, and I definitely beat Giratina in the. To finish it off with some Ice Fangs, but the crunches do surprisingly little to Giratina, but it can be a pretty decent and Ice Fang beats Swamp.
It loses in the close or in the Zero Shield barely, and in the 2 shields would appear.
Yeah. So Ice Fang for Alligator does beat Swampert in the 1 shield, and then the 2 shield is probably bait dependent on. No, actually no, straight Earthquake. Never mind. Anyways, plus the shock factor of running Ice Fang is pretty good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Meganium. So Meganium play against Registeel.
So it's not as good against Registeel as it is in Great League, because it loses that 1 shield matchup, whereas in Great League it has that bait dependent win. But it still beats Registeel in 0 shields. And it's a really powerful generalist, the bulky grass type with Frenzy Plant. It has a lot of good matchups. It's a harder Swampert counter against the standard Earthquake set than Venusaur is, because it just walls it. It can take those Earthquakes. And it has a neutral hit on Giratina as well, which Venusaur doesn't have.
Yeah, I feel like just thinking about it. I mean, obviously consider to, like I think you mentioned a little bit. I mean, this is Ultra League. This is not Great League. Meganium is going to be plenty bulky, but the thing is, like, it's the moveset that it has access to with the Vine Whip, Frenzy Plant, Earthquake. That's not going to be as offensive or as considerable against the Ultra League top meta.
Okay, so
as it is going to be in Great League. Right?
So if you're in the 0 shield matchup as a Registeel, you should actually do 1 Flash Cannon and 1 Focus Blast, and you win the 0 shield.
Yeah. Oh, is the default sim move?
It runs double Flash Cannon.
Right.
But
okay.
So it's only able to.
Focus Blast, even though it's lower DPE, it has that extra damage just on the.
Exactly.
You don't get to.
It's actually interesting that it's actually the same DPE. The 0.96. Focus Blast is a really good move. Like, it's like the same scaling as Psystrike and Avalanche. Like, the 2-to-1 ratio, and in Flash Cannon's not so great. But yeah, so if you focus blast and flash cannon, then you able to KO. So very interesting.
I dropped out the.
In fact, you can in the. I'm not sure you would really do this, but in the zero shield, you could actually just double focus blast. You really shouldn't do that because it's overkill, but you could if you really want to be safe. Then something to consider. So, Meganium, Meganium not as hard a counter to Registeel, and that's because of the stat scaling. These charge moves just don't pack as hard of a punch to Registeel.
I mean, I guess the thing I would like about running a Meganium in Ultra League is it doesn't break the core by any means of the Registeel Swampert, but it's really getting there. I mean, if it had higher attack, then it might be getting there. But again, just with the total stat product with Registeel in Ultra League, it's just I don't feel like it doesn't do what it needs to do.
So that's actually an interesting point that I was thinking about earlier is have you guys seen in any, like, I mean, I know a lot of people are still not even at the point of like IV optimization for Ultra League, but like with this higher stat spreads where things like the flooring is less of an impact, is max attack no longer really very viable? Like going for that 1500, because in Great League, there are a lot of times where like having that extra boost of attack lets you kill something before they even get to a charge move, etc. But like, I just feel like at the scale of Ultra League, that's no longer really a thing. Like even Charm doesn't feel as oppressive once you get into Ultra League levels.
I think it all comes down to, based on how much attack stat or HP you have if you hit a break point, right? Like if I hit a break point with the Charmer where they're not going to be able to access an Ancient Power because I do, as an example, 1 or 2 more damage per Charm, then that's considerable. But honestly, I have not looked into if anything even does that, if that's even a possibility.
Well, that's kind of my point, though, is that with the higher scale at Ultra League, even hitting those breakpoints, each individual breakpoint makes less of a difference. So whereas before in like, Great League, something like going max attack Altaria, make sure they can't hit that second Blizzard, like those scenarios, I personally haven't found any yet, but I haven't done a deep IV dive at all.
Yeah.
So it just feels like straight stat product is much more the way to go so far.
I think
in
it
Ultra
just
League.
depends on how meta that is. Like Swampert, I would say you don't want like one of those rank ones lowest attack, right? You want something more middle of the road, so you're not going to lose CMP every single time. But perhaps something like a little bit more spice. I don't know, like Gyarados. Then maybe on Gyarados you want more of a high stat product, I would say.
Yeah, I'd be curious if we have Matt from PV Pope. I'm sure he can pull down like what percentage of games are won by like, or what matchups are won by like an overcharge, like an overkill, and how much of an overkill versus like fast moves or just barely beating it, and then that will kind of tell us like how maybe relevant or interesting these matchups are with a higher attack.
And is it just one person? Like, is it just 2 people that are talking about Ampharos a lot?
I was about to say if we don't bring this up soon.
Saying, Ampharos.
So
like, okay,
Ampharos.
The same person.
So Ampharos has a pretty good Registeel matchup. I think it's not bait dependent in the. It's not bait dependent in the 1 and the 2. You can just straight focus blast.
And then it loses 0.
Loses 0, but.
I'm assuming you can't like pull an Achu and win without a heavy nuke, right? It's what, discharge instead of thunder punch.
It's thunder. Yeah, it just got thunder punch. So
it's like volt switch.
Thunder punch focus blast, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Why thunder punch? Why not just go Dragon Pulse? Just pull full meme it, you know?
And you know,
For coverage.
it is a consideration for sure.
Because of Giratina, I suppose.
Yeah, Giratina, you still lose, but
Yeah, if you don't have a bait move, I just looked, Focus Blast and Dragon Pulse, it's just real ugly.
against concentrated meta, right? Who knows? I guess with Dragon Pulse Focus Blast, like at least you're hitting, like, yeah, and it's a consideration. I think it's it can beat Giratina if you're willing to go 1-0, like 1-0 on the shield.
You can still lose the 0 shield, but you can still win the 2 and the 1 shield against Registeel without Focus Blast. Just straight Thunder Punch. So that if you could still have a decently solid Registeel matchup and then have Dragon Pulse for Giratina, I haven't checked if that's enough to pull you that win though.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, you can just straight Thunder Punch.
Well, there's a Pokemon that happens to lose to Ampharos, but it's much more viable. I think Gyarados, right? Gyarados has some very interesting matchups within the meta, and it actually can beat Giratina a little bit more reliably, unlike these Ampharos peddlers that we see.
There's some consideration. It does beat Togekiss, which is very popular right now, right? People love Togekiss. So I wouldn't necessarily sleep on it.
So funny enough about Gyarados, I like using Gyarados a lot too. But what would everybody's thoughts be on not even using Dragon Breath if you run Gyarados with Waterfall, Crunch, Outrage?
Ooh.
Because I mean, I find it just way too often. I end up getting walled by either a Togekiss or a Registeel or some other steel. And I
Yeah.
have that Dragon
But-
Breath in.
What are you running?
You
for
lose
charge moves?
Giratina.
So right now I have Dragon Breath, Crunch, and Hydro Pump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
that's
it's not
the
that-
moveset I like also.
it's not bad against. Obviously, it's bad against Charmers, but what you ideally want to be in. Suppose you're in the lead. You take a few charms, you charge it up, you switch to something that'll beat the Charmer, and then of course they're probably going to switch in a counter and they'll bring the Charmer back in once Gyarados is back. But then you can at least Hydro Pump it, right? That's the whole idea there, is that you can still hit it for a really hard stab Hydro Pump.
So I actually prefer Gyarados as kind of well, I wouldn't say prefer. I haven't played enough of it to really know, but I like it a lot in the like kind of a sack swap role, especially if you have a Giratina in the back, because it'll often draw out the counter that would also beat Giratina, and then you can at least Hydro Pump to force a shield. And so it just sets you up well if the line is constructed well to sweep with the Giratina afterwards. And there are very few things other than if Ampharos gets meta that like really punish Gyarados without having to burn a shield or take some decent damage.
I will say having Outrage as more of a closing move against stuff like Giratina or even like Venusaur, kind of like happened. Outrage, I suppose, but for the most part, I've been really liking the Crunch Hydro Pump coverage.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I've definitely been Hydro Pumped on my Togekiss and totally regretted it.
Feels good. Feels really good.
Yeah. But
I've
yeah.
Hydro Pump a Mamoswine. That's a one-hit kill. Let's see.
Nuke
Togekiss,
Steelix.
Clefable, Steelix. It's just I love. Yeah, it's just a great time. Hydro Pump because they don't chill. They just think, oh, this thing is PV Poke says
Crunch
Crunch
Outrage.
Outrage. I got this. Oh, I can tank an Outrage all day. Boom. Hydro Pump. And then we're done.
Boom, just like that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about the Giratina counters. Some of these are pretty interesting. Never consider it. Wouldn't have considered it. Reggie Rock.
Regirock's not a counter, but it can beat it in some scenarios.
Okay, let's see. In the
Fastest-
Zero
the
Shield.
Fastest Stone Age in the game, right?
Yeah.
With lock on.
I mean, so actually, I faced one earlier today. I don't think it was double moved. What other charge moves does Reggie Rock even get? Does he get
Focus
um,
Blast. Focus Blast.
focus and let me guess, Hyper Beam?
Zap Cannon.
Cannon.
Yeah.
Zap Cannon.
Zap Cannon, huh?
If you can, like, that's even more meme than Hyper Beam, I think, Zap Cannon.
It's
How
if
fringe
it's
of
a
the fringe.
potential cheese pick for the future, now I know it has Zap Cannon.
think,
I mean, but we're kind of
uh,
getting into, like we were talking about before with the fighters, that Rock Slide wasn't as valuable of a coverage move. There aren't as many flyers in this meta. Like, I'm not sure what Regirock gives you that Registeel didn't already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes.
And also, Regirock is much more viable in Master League, I think. I think that's about right. So you want to save your candy or if you want to use it, in Master League, it's much more.
You could just power it up part of the way and then power it up the next once you get there.
Yeah, I probably would use a Reggie Rock in Masters. I'm just
That's a
trying
good point.
The only thing I think that really, I mean, again, I faced a Reggie Rock in Ultra Go Battle League earlier today. The thing I think that does give it merit is because Reggie Rock, is super fast with that Stone Edge. For the most part, I mean, not much is going to resist the Stone Edge, right? Obviously, the steals are going to. You're not going to want to throw a Stone Edge at a Swampert, etc. But because it's so fast, I mean, I actually had to swap out of the matchup because I did not want to invest 2 shields. I forget what I opened with, but I ended up swapping out anyway. So, I mean, I guess it does put on a lot of pressure, but I just don't feel like it really puts on enough
The fact
pressure
that it's
to
using
keep up.
Stone Edge. Yeah, the fact that it's using Stone Edge as a bait move is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I mean,
all...
there is something to be said though. It's, I think, the fastest move paired with lock on of the
Yeah,
Regis.
it is.
It's only 55 energy, so you can almost stack 2, much more so than you can almost stack 2 of any other.
Like 5.5 seconds is pretty quick, right? So that's yeah, it's very quick. That's on a very elite tier.
I think it has
like
bait
imagine
dependent because of that
Bastion
speed.
to
It has
punch.
bait dependent.
Yeah, I can also. Yeah, it's yeah, it's a consideration. Let's move on to Suicune. What do you recommend? Snarl, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, or do you still recommend? You probably need the Ice Beam for Giratina, right?
I think against Giratina, it's more reliable with Ice Fang than with Snarl.
Oh, okay.
But obviously Snarl's more versatile in most other situations, so it depends how you want to run your Suicune.
Interesting.
Do you need the Hydro Pump? I'm assuming Bubble Beam is again not necessarily super viable.
I don't know. I faced a Suicune too. It was running Snarl, Ice Beam, Bubble Beam, and I think I ended up losing that battle actually.
I think it's about the same for in Snarl or Ice Fang. It beats Giratina in the 0 and the 1, and they both lose the 2. It's a little closer in the 2 with Ice Fang, but it's the same matchup. Just straight.
I have a feeling Ice Fang Bubble Beam, straight Bubble Beam. I have a feeling that might win 2 shields.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm looking at that wrong. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does win the 2 shields if it baits.
I think you can do it with straight Bubble Beam.
Oh, straight bubble. Oh, straight bubble beam. Yeah, you're right. Straight bubble beam. Yeah. That's a interesting moveset. Okay, yeah, no, I see that now. Yeah.
So you can't beat Registeel without the Hydro Pump though. There's no fancy way to work your way around that one.
So if anything, if you actually want it to be, considerably viable, just drop the Bubble Beam meme, because I'm telling you, when I battled one, that Bubble Beam meme gave me so many issues.
You can't beat Registeel without the Bubble Beam bait, actually. Just an Ice Beam bait is not enough. Even landing the Hydro Pump, you're going to lose.
Yeah. Oh man, these are
So
complicated.
there's a lot of versatility, but you can't get everything out of Suicune with one set.
So yeah, I don't even feel like Suicune's worth it then. It's cheese. I dub it cheese.
Okay, interesting. Cresselia.
Cresselia is really good. Cresselia good.
No longer meme.
Especially with the lack of Registeels, is a huge part. Like you can run it pretty free, right? And what movesets? It has a lot of viable moveset combinations, but which ones do you recommend?
Personally, if I were running Cresselia, I'd go for either Confusion or Psycho Cut, depending on what your comp is. But Future Sight and Moon Blast are just really good on it. And Moon Blast, you can beat Giratina. Without Aurora Beam, you don't need necessarily Aurora Beam.
Yeah, and I feel like they're such big moves and they're such expensive moves too. Maybe Psycho Cut. I mean, there's always going to be arguments for Aurora Beam. I feel like Aurora Beam is going to be more applicable in the Great League, especially considering the lack. I feel like the lack of versatility right now with Venusaur and Meganium and stuff like that. The problem is, I mean, no matter what you do with the Cresselia, you're basically walled by the Registeel and pretty much all the other steals too. I mean, if you run the Aurora Beam, you can at least hit neutral into the Steelix, but Cresselia is not known for its attack stats, so I guess it just depends on how you use it and how you comp with it.
With Registeel, I mean, you have some time to think about it because it's not going to go quickly. Flash Cannon is only hitting neutral.
Yeah.
Cresselia has a lot of HP, so it's going to take about 200 lock-ons to.
Yeah, and actually
confirmed. Run Blissey and Cresselia.
And as well, like Future Sight is actually more energy efficient than Aurora Beam against Steelix.
Future Sight.
Yes.
Because Aurora Beam's garbage.
Aurora Beam is just a bad move.
It is.
It's just not very good.
But,
and you should feel bad for running it. And it's like you should feel really bad for shielding it too. So that is an argument for Aurora Beam.
So it's cheaper than Future Sight. So, but not
by that much.
Not by that much. So I think like Psycho Cut, Confusion, like Future Sight, Moonblast, like perform relatively the same across the board. I think when you run Confusion, it puts more obviously more fast move pressure in, because I ran a Psycho Cut and I was like, and then they had a Venusaur lead and they actually just stayed in, Frenzy planted me, then left. It was like, because the Psycho Cuts were doing like no damage to the Venusaur, even though they were super effective. Yeah. But Psycho Cut does put a little bit more pressure onto Alolan Muck, because you're able to get to a Moonblast, which is neutral. It doesn't win the matchup, but it at least like makes Alolan Muck think about how much it wants to farm up Cresselia, or how much it wants to overcharge before throwing the finishing Dark Pulse.
I think if I ran a Legendary, it would be Cresselia in this league. It is pretty good.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a really great generalist, especially, again, lack of Registeels makes it way more viable. Okay, and then the next one, this is one of my personal favorites, Articuno, with Ice Shard, Icy Wind, and Ancient Power is likely the moveset. So, Articuno, I think it only beats Giratina in the 2 shield. Yep. If you're running Ice Shard and Icy Wind. Which is not bad
absolutely ridiculous.
In the lead scenario. But Articuno, PvPoke's sims are a little bit off right now. I did let Matt know. But right now, when you run the default, like for example against Swampert, it shows it like baiting with Ancient Power, and it shows it losing against Swampert in the 1 shield. But if you turn off Ancient Power and just straight Icy Wind, it actually wins pretty comfortably. Versus Swampert does the same thing against Alolan Muck. Basically, a lot of the remaining meta. Besides Steel and Fighters.
You were trying to get me to throw down and invest in my Shadow one.
Plus, you can do a Shadow one. It gets to level 25. I think you only have to get to like level 20. No, you have to get to level 32 and a half.
I'm not throwing rare candy at Articuno with Master League around the corner. That is not going to happen.
I don't know, man. Guaranteed debuff and a boost roll, like that is
it's so
that
good.
Is some fun change.
And I think that makes it
about Viable Master as well.
Yeah,
It's pretty good in Masters. It is pretty good in Masters, right?
Yeah, I would argue it's better in Ultra. Some people are arguing with me that, or some people are saying that it's gonna be better in Masters, which may be true because it probably handles Origin Form, Giratina, and Togekiss and something like that. But I think it loses to Dialga.
Yeah.
The thing I guess I like about Articuno, obviously, your video was amazing on it, King. Thank you for that video. But it's stat product in Ultra League, but I think Tuesday Master mentioned it as well. Having the debuff and then the Ancient Power, boost chance. Articuno can do a lot. It can be walled by a lot, but nothing wants to be double. If they're locked in and you just keep debuffing with the Icy Wind, it's not a great spot to be in. It was the same situation I ran into against a Suicune.
So
just getting those constant debuffs, nobody likes that.
So I think a lot of people are so geared towards like how much charge moves do in Great League, because like someone's pointing out like, oh, weakness to Ancient Power, no thanks. Ancient Power, double super effective from Giratina. It does 85 of 156, just over half on a double super effective move.
It's not as scary as it would be in Great League.
It's not as scary as in Great League. I think that's one thing that people.
But also debuffed, because the ones that are going to hit are the ones that are going to be double or single or double debuffed.
Yeah, exactly. Going to be double debuffed.
Because you're going to be hopefully you're going to be shields up in an Articuno match.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a Pokemon that you want shields up for in order to make it effective.
Down, it's not a great situation for you as a. Yeah.
Also, for anyone who's watching that doesn't really have a sense,
So, like, if you're up against a Giratina, you're going to shield the first two. Even if it's a Dragon Claw that you end up shielding, you're going to lag out again.
Yeah, you are lagging out a little bit. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure you were doing that for.
Out. Again.
You got.
That's still cutting out a bit.
Robot AJ right now. This is
It's down low.
Oh, this is like AJ's in the middle of a Go Battle League match right now. Just lagging out right now.
He's taking up all his bandwidth.
Yeah, he's lagging out right now.
Is there any merit at all?
Okay,
to go Ice Shard Hurricane on a Articuno?
I personally don't think so. Someone was saying that maybe for the fighter matchup, but it actually beats most fighters. Even beats Poliwrath in the 2-shield. Straight Icy Wind. Even with Poliwrath baiting. Maybe if it's not running Hydro, maybe it's running Hydro Pump, maybe different or Bubble, but yeah. So I really like Articuno, especially right now. Very few Registeels is very good. It's very favorable for Cresselia, Articuno, Venusaur, all those Pokemon that would normally be really scared of Registeel. They're able to run around pretty freely right now. But as the meta matures, I could definitely see Articuno, Cresselia, and Venusaur falling lower on the meta list.
So I guess the question is now too, if for people who don't have enough to buy a second move for Articuno, like myself, can you still use an Articuno?
Oh yeah, straight Icy Wind.
Ultra League, just straight Ice Shard Ice Beam, or Icy Wind.
Just Icy Wind, yeah, straight Icy Wind. You don't even need the second charge move. Like if you go in the close game versus Charizard, sure, it's helpful. I definitely Ancient Powered a Charizard because they thought it was an Icy Wind, which was really nice. But it's right now you can totally run Articuno. Just Ice Shard and Icy Wind.
What about Blizzard? I'm not even joking.
Yeah, no, Blizzard.
Closing move.
Yeah, it's actually, let's see, actually beats, yeah, it beats Giratina in the close situation. If you just Blizzard in the zero shield, you win. Despite the double super effective ancient power.
I don't know if I'd go Blizzard though. I feel like I like that Icy Wind cheese too much.
You could do
No,
double ice.
Icy Wind and Blizzard. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, saying double ice.
Oh. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
And no, it's not able to. That's interesting. And if you end up in a one shield disadvantage versus Charizard, you can. If you end up,
It's hard.
yeah. No, I meant like if you end up in a closed game where you have a one shield and you have an Articuno, then you can Blizzard and beat the Charizard. Does someone have the stream up? Okay, let's go. Okay, let's go to the partial threats. Which one of these? So let's talk about the spiciest one, Kangaskhan.
So Kangaskhan's actually kind of reliable against Altered and Registeel. Straight outrage is enough, I think, to beat Altered in 1 and 0 shields. And with Power Punch, it can beat Registeel except in 0 shields, I think. But it does, in that Registeel matchup, it does, because it has no shield pressure, it doesn't normally concede a shield. So you have to come out of that Registeel matchup trying to throw a powered up outrage or something. And it is walled horribly by Togekiss. So if it power punches that Registeel, beats it, comes out of it, tries to throw an outrage or something, and the Togekiss comes in, then it's just going to generate energy for that Togekiss.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think my favorite thing about Kangaskhan, I mean, obviously I love Kangaskhan, but I feel like out of all the things available right now, for the partial threats, it is the most like direct answer to that core of Giratina and Registeel, but it's more specifically going to be focused, to counter a Registeel matchup. So, it definitely is. I feel like it's kind of iffy sometimes. Like you said, if you just blind throw an outrage and it's not a Giratina coming in, then that's going to suck. But definitely, if Registeel becomes more available, more popular, and more people are using it and bringing it, it can even still do great against a lot of things besides Registeel too, which is the Mud Slap, like Steelix, for example. Again, this is another thing I don't have enough to invest into one to power it up. Eventually I will, but if anything, like I already have most of what's on this page, but I feel like it does the best job. It's really close with Articuno, to be honest. I feel like I'd probably want to go Articuno first, but definitely Kanga would get the job done if anybody's thinking about it.
Ooh, interesting. So Kangaskhan actually loses the one shield to Registeel if you straight Flash Cannon.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't even need the Focus Blast.
But it's right at a power-up punch. So if you're behind on energy, the only reason why the Focus Blast is less efficient is because you have a lot of residual energy in the one shield. You have exactly 65 residual energy. And 2 Flash Cannons do more damage than one Focus Blast. So to win these matchups, sometimes you have to know what the play is.
Yeah, because of the bulk, it's better to go the energy efficient way.
Yeah, the less energy. So, interesting, very interesting. We definitely would not have guessed that. Maybe if you have a better Yeah, no, interesting. Okay. Okay, great. So I think Kangaskhan, a pretty legit option. I was doing something else. I did like a spicy picks video, but I actually think it can be decently meta if used properly. It probably
But if
loses.
you-
It probably loses to a lot of other things in the meta though. Like probably doesn't hold up that well to like Swampert.
You definitely need outrage though. Can't you just go? What if you go much slap, power up, punch, crunch? Because I mean that'll give you at least some kind of coverage. It'll still hit the Giratina with a super effective, right? And if I'm correct, crunch is going to be more energy efficient than outrage. So if you come out of a Registeel matchup successfully and you're still powered up and you have enough energy to land a crunch, like even though it's not going to get stabbed, the Giratina is not going to like that. If it's a Mew or any psychic pick, they're not going to like that either. I don't know, I guess.
That is a good question. Do you beat a Giratina? You don't beat a Giratina without. Oh, do you? Maybe you do. Okay, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Yeah, you don't beat a Giratina without outrage.
Okay, so you need the outrage to beat the Giratina.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Power Punch Outrage is probably the moveset for sure. Obviously, we talked about Swampert. Swampert is able to beat. Obviously, going to beat Registeel pretty reliably. And then it has bait dependent wins. It wins the 0 shield and bait dependent wins in the 1 shield against Giratina with Shadow Claw. I don't think it has a bait dependent win in the 1 shield against Shark and Breath. Andrew, do you know that? I don't think it does. Okay. And then Reggie Ice. What do you think of Reggie Ice?
I mean, I do like the thought of the lock-on Blizzard. What else does he get, though? I think he gets Earthquake. Does he get Focus Blast as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He seems like he could be a lot of fun. I don't know if I would ever invest into one, though.
Reggio actually beats Registeel by CMP.
Yeah.
Earthquake is just as fast as Flush Cannon, and they each kill with the Jaws move. So as long as Registeel doesn't come in first, it wins that matchup.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a really good consideration, and it needs the Blizzard for the Giratina matchup. But I think is it a bait dependent win? No, okay. It only wins in the 0 shield. Actually, no. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah. Yeah, it only wins in the 0 shield. But it has a lot of energy at the end. So I think like, oh, interesting. So if you I think someone showed me like if you have like a 25 energy advantage, like you switch in a Reggie Ice. I don't know what they would switch out of. Like I don't know what a Reggie Ice would force switch out of, but if for whatever reason you switched in a Reggie Ice and it got a 25 if it got 5 lock-ons, I think it beats like all but like 2 or 3 Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's between the 2 charge moves, it's unresisted by everything except for Surskit.
yeah. I could see that. So it has like I guess it would. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else would resist like what do you think about this one? Grass. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So has a pretty interesting. So it has some use. I'm sure a lot of those wins are bait dependent, but Earthquake and Blizzard are both pretty good moves, and it's able to charge up to them fairly quickly.
Its main downside compared with Registeel is it loses all of its resistances except for ice.
Yeah, and ice is the worst defensive typing in the entire game. It's awful. Only resisting ice.
So I mean, the one big advantage it does have, I guess, is just not needing to be maxed. Like Registeel is going to be the most expensive Reggie. Would any of you guys go Regirock or Regice before going like Steelix if you were looking for a more direct replacement for Registeel? It's a little cheaper.
They're not really direct replacements. They don't have all of the wins over the Giratina Counters that Registeel has. They have some of them, but not all of them.
My opinion is, if you can't bring Registeel, don't try to substitute it. Just team comp your pick your team differently, so that you don't necessarily need that steel placement, because Registeel is just so good. You can kind of diffuse the coverage that it offers, via other means. But that's just my sort of take on it.
Yeah, I would agree on that. Unless you're trying to run something spicy, I might make one just for fun. But if you're want to save up for Masters, then I think that's a much wiser move. And like Steelix and Reggie Ice have different play. Like Steelix is like a clear altered form Giratina counter, as opposed to Reggie Ice not so much. And then obviously we talked about Gyarados, Dragon Breath, Crunch, Hydro Pump seems like the best moveset. Are there any other moveset considerations?
Outrage wins with Zero Shields, I think.
Yeah. But the Hydro Pump is like really nice coverage.
Yeah,
So...
it improves the Registeel matchup. I think Hydro Pump wins Registeel Zero Shields, and it gives it that coverage.
Yeah. If someone tries to farm you down, I made that mistake many times now. But okay, are there any other picks or considerations, given how the meta is right now, that you would consider?
There's a good question.
Oh. Yeah, I think we were about to mention the same thing from chat of the Arcanine Snarl is that's
I'm
not further back up.
Say. You're further back up.
Okay.
Jiggly Dad had a really good question for Andrew, but I'll let you. I want to hear what you have to say about Arcanine.
No, just that. So Arcanine was not on my radar. I only saw it just from now in the chat. They're saying that it beats a lot of the meta with a 2-snarl lead. But I think in general, there are just snarlers that have gone underlooked because the buff came after a while, and we still discount so many of these like kind of fringe dark picks. But not only dark, like I was looking at Grand Bull last night, and with Snarl, Crunch, and Close Combat, it has like an 80+% win percentage, including Giratina and Registeel, I think. Or no, it might come short on Registeel. But it's I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of utility in these snarlers that, especially with a 1 or 2 snarl lead, they're going to do a lot of damage to a lot of this concentrated meta. And Arcanine may be a better one. I just hadn't looked at that one yet. But credit to, was it Jigglydat? Oh, 2-0 Butters is the one that was preaching that, apparently.
Interesting, yeah. It's a very interesting Registeel matchup.
Yeah, so the question from Jiggly Dad for Andrew was, what Pokemon do you think benefited the most and were hurt the most from blind 3s in Ultra League, Go Battle League?
I'd say the thing I'm most worried about in blind that I'd be less worried about in a Silph tournament is Giratina Origin, because it has a lot of good matchups that Ultra doesn't have, like the Registeel matchup, and it can even do well against Ultra itself. But if it gets locked against the Snorlax, if you're doing a Silph tournament, you know if the Snorlax is there and you can plan around it. But if it gets locked against one in blind, that's a devastating situation to be in.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, any farmable matchup, kind of farmable matchup would be pretty devastating. That's a good one.
and then one person asked, "What do you thought Zangoose?" And I think we're probably looking at closing up pretty soon because now we're starting talking about Zangoose, which is okay. but I think we're now getting to that point where we're scraping the bottom of this Ultra League barrel. But what are your thoughts on Zangoose?
Zangoose does have. So Zangoose is pretty good against Giratina Counters and against Origin form. It loses to Dragon Breath Ultras, but it'll beat the Shadow Claw variants. And it has a 2-shield win over Registeel. So it loses in 1 shield and 0 shields, but that 2-shield win's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think Zangoose might be a little too spicy for me. I mean, there's like a lot of hype around it, like a couple of days ago, but no. I've actually faced a Zangoose a couple of times, and it never really gave me any issues.
Okay.
What's Shadow Claw, Night Slash, and what's the third preferred move?
Close combat.
Close combat.
Oh, right.
Okay. So I'm looking on PV Poke. The highest ranked Pokemon besides Mew that's not included on this list, which I don't think has much play, Gliscor. Loses to Registeel, even, which is very unfortunate.
I guess Night Slash is cool, you know?
Yeah, I mean, without stab and without like resisting anything, like I don't think Night Slash is going to do enough for you against the dragon or the ghosts that are in there.
Yeah, I don't think it beats Giratina in any situation.
Ooh, okay,
I mean, I guess if you like double boost and double shield and everything goes your way, maybe. But
I mean, it's just like, I forget which one of those that it is we were talking about earlier. Oh, it was Meganium. It's like Meganium can, you know, kind of, but not quite break the Registeel Swampert combo. I feel like it's the same thing here. It can kind of, but not quite all the way, break the Giratina plus Registeel combo. So I guess, you know, if you want to get super spicy like that, it really just depends on how you comp. But even then,
I think it would be it would be a Pokemon that would be really good in restricted metas.
yes.
Like, but right now, because presumably, because of the Pokemon that are in Open and Blind 3, it's not quite that effective. Okay, the next one, besides Lucario, which we talked about already, Lugia. Obviously, losing to both Giratina and Registeel is not so great.
Yeah, I don't feel like Lugia is. I don't even think it's even spice in Ultra League. I think it has a lot more merit in Master League and Great League, but I don't know. I don't feel good about Lugia at all for Ultra League. I've tried it before, and nah, it's just.
I feel like it's a similar niche to Hydro Pump Gyarados, but without having as much targeted anti-meta utility. I mean, I guess it's like a little better against grass and stuff, but I don't feel like it's worth what you're giving up in terms of what you're hitting with the Gyarados.
Okay. And obviously there's a bunch of other ones like Zapdos, Flygon. Hopefully when they...
Zapdos, I think Zapdos is threatening to Registeel because it has that resistance
Yeah.
to Flash Cannon and Focus Blast.
Yeah, I think it just barely beats Registeel in the 1. If I look at this... Yeah, just... Okay, yeah, it wins. It wins in all shields scenarios, but I think it's slightly...
I mean, it has no play against Giratina, though. That's unfortunate.
Well, we're still talking about Lugia,
Drill Peck
right?
hits for neutral.
Yeah.
Drill Peck. No, we're not talking about Lugia. What are we talking about? Zapdos?
Yeah.
Which one? Thundershock, Drill Peck, Thunderbolt, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, again, right now in Ultra League, I don't feel like there's any reason to go Ancient Power on the Zapdos. Drill Peck can hit pretty hard, though. It is Zapdos.
Okay. If oh man, that's very unfortunate. So even if Zapdos double buffs, it loses the 1 shield to... Actually no, does it? Actually no, actually it has a... Oh no, it actually wins. It barely wins. Okay, the right at actually let me supply this Dragon Claw. No, it's able to win. Okay, never mind. It's able to win with a double buff against Giratina. But that's not really that much. But yeah, so let's end this. What are your overall thoughts of Go Battle League in Ultra League as compared to Go Battle League in Great League?
Great League feels more complete. People have all of the much more of the popular and common Pokemon in their having built them up over time with Silph Cups and the fact that they're more affordable. Whereas Ultra League, there seems to be a lot of strong stuff that's missing in a lot of people's teams at the moment.
Which I made an argument on Twitter that it actually allows for more spicier Pokemon to be in play, especially with the big hole of Registeel not being that common, as opposed to like you can certainly run some spicier play Pokemon in Great League, but they're much more difficult because if people are running serious teams or the best teams that they have available, there's fewer holes within those teams versus there's like quite a few holes when you run probably the most common trio of Swampert, Togekiss, and Giratina Altered.
So far, I mean, I do feel like because of that, Ultra League has been more fun than I really thought it would, honestly. I came into Ultra League with zero expectations. Nowadays, I just try to have zero expectations, period, with Go Battle League. But it is because of the lack of Registeel, but also at the same time, I feel like it's easy to take advantage of people who do not have, those core meta picks invested to. And it's also the other way around. If you don't have the core meta and you don't have exactly the answer, or you lead right, some people have also been like experiencing zeros and fives, whereas they performed just as good, if not even better, in Great League for Go Battle League. Some people are saying their ranking is tanking and whatnot. So I kind of got mixed feelings on it. I do feel like it's more fun than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think
I'm really scared of Master League, to be honest. I think Master League's gonna be the same kind of thing, just like to the 10th power.
Well, I think it's just different. These are just different gameplay, slightly.
I think Master League is going to be different. I really do. I think a lot more people that raid are going to have more options in Master League. You're going to see a lot of just weird picks that are not necessarily great in a concentrated meta. They're going to be factors that you're going to have to prepare for because they're going to be common.
Yeah. And the stat scaling certainly makes the gameplay different, right? I think that people have to slowly adjust to that over time, and I think as people get more Pokemon and as people adjust to how to play with Master League and when to use their shields and what you can tank and what you can't tank, things will slowly change and will lead to a more concentrated meta. But I think like anyways, Masters is going to be the stat scaling is even different than in Ultra, which I think is something that people have to get used to over time. People just played a lot of Great League in the past so far, but I think people will get better at it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think that's honestly the thing that has surprised me most about Ultra League is not the new Pokemon. It's the fact that familiar matchups are different when you're at Ultra League scale. So like I know we've touched on this a bunch of times in the different stat, but like to give a tangible example, like Venusaur Swampert that you see in Great League all the time also, instead of doing 98 damage with an Earthquake out of 123 to a Venusaur, an Earthquake deals 99 damage, but now out of over 160. Or for example, the Swampert can bait a Hydro Cannon and then still reach the Earthquake, which you can't do in Great League. So there's just like a lot of things that even these matchups that we've played 100 times, like they're not the ones that you're expecting. And so the things of what you can tank and what you can't tank, you just have to relearn a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like all these reasons too. This is a big part of what I talked about a few streams ago is I'm really grateful they're doing that. I think you tweeted about this too, King, but I'm really grateful they're doing the preseason so that when things like this come up and people, are touching on, well, I can't really, compete competitively because I don't have 3 million dust right now, to throw at XYZ pick. This is when these things happen, and because of the preseason, I think potentially we're going to see more move changes, possibly move stat changes, more debuff buffs come into play, or potentially just complete shakeups. And hopefully new moves added too. Definitely, we need some more new moves.
Yeah, I know. There's yeah, some new moves are always nice, and I think there's lots that they can potentially work with, and we're getting Body Slam on Lickitung and Lucky soon, so those will definitely come into play, and I really like it because like there's what I liked about Great League is there's a bunch of Pokemon that before PvP came out that I never used, that I would never think about using. I remember I caught like in a Zoom roll in the wild. I was like, okay, yeah,
Oh, Beaver.
what am I gonna do with this, right? Or a bunch of different Pokemon. And then they, or I have all these like shiny Swablues. Right? I'm like, what am I gonna be doing with it? Then it came out, and great. Then PvP came out, and I used it a lot in Great League, and I've grown fond and attached to them. And the same thing with Ultra. There's a bunch of Pokemon that I never thought I would be using. Like I loved using Articuno yesterday, and I loved like battling with it, and or these other Pokemon that aren't used that common in Great League, which has been a lot of fun. So
That's true. Yeah, a lot of Pokemon that were kind of just dex fillers before do have some use.
I think they did a
100%.
really good job at making a lot of Pokemon very useful across the different avenues of Pokemon Go. Okay, any final thoughts that you want to share? Advice for people that for the next 9 days or so of Ultra League battles that they're going to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, you can just set yourself a budget. You're not gonna win even most of the battles, but I've been doing fine with spending less than 250k or something like that. Most of you guys probably have a Snorlax that's close to 2500, or you could just use a Lucky Munchlax, give it a second move and power it up. Gyarados is very viable, and it's only 10k unlock, and so is Swampert. And so right there, it's a team that doesn't do amazing against the odd Venusaur that you might find, but still, I mean, you'll be able to rack up rewards and do okay and learn the matchups. So
Yeah,
if you're disciplined, you can make a budget team and do fine.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that honestly, like, just don't be afraid if you can't afford the meta stuff, because so many other people can. Like, you will also be playing against a lot of other people that are kind of hodgepodging their stuff together.
Yeah, for sure. And then, and I think you still do well, and just get used to the matchups. And it's only preseason, right? Like all this is gonna get reset anyways when the new season comes out, and I think we're just learning and adapting. And I think it's been a lot more fun than I expected. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Choose. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, AJ, for all joining the stream, and thank you everyone for watching and attending. And best of luck in all your battles.
Thanks for having us.